Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cities with John. I am John Harper, and I'm so glad to have you along for the ride today as we continue on this forestry area. And today, I'm going to be expanding a little bit out and working on uh, some residential areas to surround this forestry area. So, kind of the idea that I had with this area of the map, which is on an island. In the previous episode, we worked on getting the forestry area up and running. We already have an oil area, and the oil producing area produces a lot of pollution. There's a lot of noise pollution, there's a lot of regular pollution too. So I wanted this area to kind of going along with the forestry idea to be a kind of a green friendly area. Nothing that has the residential close by the actual plants and stuff. So, but I still wanted to kind of keep it a little bit further away, and that's why you're seeing the boulevard here that I'm making. And the idea is this is a great view of the water, a great view of the dock area, and I was going to throw in some heavy residential areas that are suited for a lot of people to live in. As this area is a new area of the map, the idea is that for people to live here, it's going to have to be in high rises. Not necessarily huge high rises, but I want them to be, um, I want to fit in a lot of people. And I want these places to have plenty of employees over here because, along with the forestry industry, there will be at some point I'm going to add some commercial over here and things like that as well. So, and with commercial, you need people to live in those commercial areas, but you also need people to simply um, be able to work in the industry area. So the boulevard I made at the beginning of the video was it had the tram track going through it, and I got rid of that just because I thought that even though this is going to be a little bit more heavy as far as people living in it, I didn't want it to necessarily be my really heavy residential area of the map. And a time will come for too long that I have a lot of public transportation options for my people. But right now, there's no buses, there's no trams, nothing like that that's going to be over here. So I kind of changed my mind, and as you could probably see, the video somewhat morphed into something different using this boulevard now that has a really cool median to it. So using the palm trees to keep that tropical flavor going in this area, I didn't really want to. I'm kind of neutral on using trees on roads. I do it sometimes, but only in areas where I really want to have a distinct look. And the tall palm trees I've been kind of saving for different areas of the map. I didn't really use them on the first part of the map over in the regular where I kind of started my city. I didn't really use the tall palm trees over there. I only used the shorter ones. And these, I think, really look good on these boulevards because I want these to look like an area that is going to be a little bit more expensive to live in, even though these are larger buildings and probably not huge apartment spaces or condo spaces. I wanted it to look a little bit more like, hey, this is a place that you want to live. It has good access to the main interstate running through my map, and then it also is going to be close to a lot of industry, which is what is going to surround it in the coming weeks as I'm working on this map. So as I was going through, and you can kind of see, I'm kind of just seeing what my best options are as far as buildings and trying to keep things around the same size. I didn't want to clash too many styles here. So with this brick building that I almost put down, I think I actually do put down, and I kind of changed my mind about, there's a lot of good options for some tropical looking buildings that are like kind of apartments. And these ones with this almost peach orange look are some of the best out there, in my opinion. And again, something where even though I have find it and I scroll through and look through a lot of stuff, you really, when you're going through and you're downloading a lot of assets and things like that, you can start really losing track of what you have. And some of these things are happy surprises, but these particular apartments I had seen at one point and haven't used them because on the first part of the map, like I was saying earlier, I kept that area very low key, no heavy residential at all. So this is really my first heavy residential area of the map. And as you can see, I'm right at the 30,000 population mark. And I just kind of wanted to continue upping that population, as even though I do play these maps as a detailer and doing lots of detail work on my cities, I still want to have a lot of people. I want to have a fairly good sized population by the time this map is all said and done. This island that the industry area has been growing on works really well for this, and at one point I thought maybe this would be my downtown area, but I'm still kind of figuring out where exactly I want that downtown area to be. It could still be over here, and I think that that wouldn't be a bad option. But when you make a downtown area, there's so many things to consider. And when I first started this area, I did not consider this to be a downtown area. Therefore, it probably won't be, because when you start making an area like downtown that has a ton of commercial, a ton of offices, a ton of residential, everything mixed into one, you have to really plan out your roads even more so than I do. I'm pretty good at the layouts of roads from the standpoint of, I don't think I've gone below 70% on my traffic on this map. Part of that is because when you do a detailing map and you're just using plop the growables or you're using Rico, you tend to not get a huge jump in population all at once. Um, However, I'm hoping that with the way I'm getting this set up, using even taller buildings in the back here, that I will eventually get some really good population growth in this area, and that it will continue to flourish and become a place that my Sims want to be a part of. So here, just adding a little bit of underground electric to make sure that those buildings have electricity. But and then also here using Traffic Manager to make sure that no trucks are going to be using these roads, since it is a industrial area around the residential area. Trucks are prone to use roads that are best access, and I don't want them driving around these areas that are going to be strictly for people to live in. But anyway, as I was saying, I'm hoping to get a population boost and get a fair amount of people coming into this area. I don't think that's really what I was saying, was it? I lose my train of thought a lot. I have short-term memory problems. Now, I'm leaving the parking on these streets for now. I don't really mind, and matter of fact, the way that Median Boulevard is set up, there are parking lanes. However, I do want to use some parking garages, and just because they're really fun to kind of mess with and set up the way that you want them. So here I'm adding some parking garages, making two different ones. Not really having a too big of a plan of action here, but I do want the parking garages to be something that is used, and I'm thinking that as the population grows in just this area, I mean, you look at these buildings, a lot of people can live in these buildings. So they're going to need all the road space they can get, and they're probably also going to need a parking garage as well. So here I'm just kind of adjusting this garage and trying to get it to fit in this spot and also look like it should be in this spot. This particular parking garage has two entrances, but only one of them is an actual entrance as far as the game will react to it. So I'm trying to kind of set up a parking garage entrance here that might work for the time being. And I did this in another industrial area earlier on when I first got to these parking garages, and it worked out well. But with this one, I was having a little trouble getting this entrance here connected properly. So what I decided to do is, instead of putting in an actual network of roads or a node network, I would just use some of these concrete paver decals that King Leno made. And can you tell that I love King Leno's stuff? It's like he definitely gets the most shout outs of anybody on my videos, so he does an incredible job on everything. I don't see how he does it. But I'm just going to go on. I'm simulating an entrance that's not an actual entrance, but just trying to make it look like it really is an entrance. So a lot of detail work goes into these kind of things, and they're not exactly the most. Yeah, you gotta love that trailer just floating through. The good thing is cars can park in these, so even if sometimes you get that, what we just saw, the car floating through, um, cars will park in it, which in itself gives it a more realistic vibe. Here I was kind of trying to figure out why exactly there was a sidewalk there, and I'd built a sidewalk there, and I could not get the sidewalk to go away. So, um, but I think overall it turned out well. I've just ended up painting that area in with the surface painter and just kind of making it all pavement, so it all ended up okay anyway. So you might have noticed there's a little skate park that I added, and I also added the indoor soccer field that's at the top of the screen there. Just trying to make this area feel more alive and giving the Sims options to get some exercise and have some fun. I thought the indoor soccer field made sense just from the standpoint of uh, there is going to be pollution in the air here, so it's not probably the best place to be doing a sport that is heavy cardio. Here, I initially thought I wanted to make this little square kind of like a little park. So what I decided to do is, instead of just using like a park asset or a building or something like that, I would just make a path underneath the overpass there, and I used um, the just regular gravel path here, and just add some trees and some vegetation to give it a more realistic look. And here I'm just going to add a gazebo and a few little props just to give the Sims a place to hang out, walk through. It connects to the other road, which right now going over to the other road kind of leads you to nowhere. But I wanted just to kind of make this a place that the Sims would like to walk through. They would enjoy walking through because it's pretty and it's a nice little walk. And I think it turned out pretty good. It's simple and it works pretty well. Here, just adding some light props that are going to go underneath the uh, overpass and kind of just adding those little details. This area, even though it is a lot of industry, it is a nicer area. Now, over previously in the video with the industrial area apartments that I made, that area is not all that wonderful. It's a little bit more run down, and it definitely already has a lot of crime and a lot of things going on in that area. But this area, I don't want that. I want it to be a great place to live with great access to the major roads. Um, the forestry, by the way, if you watch my last video, I kind of touched on how I was getting messages about they're running out of raw resources. Even though I plopped down the tree farms right in the middle of the darkest green on the map, for some reason, a lot of them were giving me that error that they didn't have enough raw resources, and this one was too. So it happened again on, and I don't know if I've got it on this video, but I kept getting it, and eventually I'll add a little bit more forestry area, probably up in the mountains where it hasn't done that error message that I still don't exactly understand. Um, Here, just kind of adding some little details to this soccer facility. Um, if you look at that building, you might not know exactly what it is. So I was trying to find a sign that would kind of tie along with it. This sign here is for, I believe, on the vanilla game is just a generic sign for like a sports store, but it doesn't say store. So I thought, well, I'll just use this as kind of a sign for my, and look at this rain. Now, see, I don't know how that happened. I was like, yeah, we turned that off real quick with Ultimate Eye Candy. I'm not sure why it started raining. Anyway, so I just used like a brick wall prop to kind of be the base of the sign. And then just using Move It, take the sign, put it on top of this brick wall. And it was funny because it's actually called Steel Frame Sports, which is kind of what this building looks like. It's got a big steel frame holding up that inflatable roof that you see a lot in cities. And I just like to have these little things just to kind of identify what places are when they don't have those built in. And, a lot of times that's perfectly fine to not have built-in signs because sometimes you want to use a building for something completely different. You don't want it to be what it says it is. And that's kind of what I intended with that street sign that I made for this soccer facility. Here, just using one of the pre-made parking lots. Didn't really want to do the entrances and exits. Yeah, isn't that nice? That just drove and became part of the car. They merged as one. Gotta love some of the little glitchy things on here, but it is amazing though, when you sit back and think about this game, it's just amazing to me to think that this all works together. And it doesn't, I mean, very rarely do you have any major issues. So the little graphical issues are just funny for me. I don't really frown upon them. They make me laugh, and you don't really notice them when you're playing the game anyway. So here, using the pavement decals and just making a connection here with the entrance and of the soccer facility. A lot of Sims are going to be walking to this place, but I still wanted to have a parking lot and just give it that more realistic vibe because these kind of places are few and far between right now in my city. So some people might actually want to travel a bit to get to this place, or they might want to come check it out if they live over in the oil industrial area apartments. So there I just saw a car leave on the other side. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give you a second entrance over here then. And it's funny because some of the cars will actually drive out that little exit, like that car just did. Will drive out the exits just fine. Um, but sometimes they just drive through the grass. They just don't care. Um, but anyway, so yeah, when making parking lots, I kind of talked about on the last episode with my In-N-Out burger. If you're going to make a parking lot, you have to use the parking lot road entrances. You don't have to, but you know it's highly recommended because the cars react to it properly. And the only problem, however, is it makes an official entrance, and it's going to cause traffic issues. I don't really, I mean, the traffic issue, it doesn't really bother me that we have traffic because obviously you got to have traffic. You're going to have traffic when you have a big city. But when I can just plop down one of these uh, parking lots and still make it look realistic, I'll do that option. I mean, I think there's a time and place for each one. Stuff like restaurants, drive-throughs, all that kind of stuff. It definitely makes more sense to use the parking lot roads and making a more effective drive-through. So anyway, adding some vegetation and also fix that curb to kind of ride along with the sidewalk, which I think gave that a good finishing look on that. And I think, yeah, I think that part really turned out well. I really am enjoying making this area and enjoying making these videos in general. Uh, as I've said before, please hit that like button or subscribe to my channel. I'm going to keep on making stuff. It's fun. I enjoy it, and I hope you're enjoying it, and I'm glad to have you along for the ride. This has been Cities with John, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for part 3. Bye-bye.